episode of this Halloween series of Book Club as we have a look at the 4th issue of R.L. Stine's Goosebumps, which is Say Cheese and Die. While I've given all of these novels a pretty critical look, this is the first of them that I wasn't actually a very big fan of. I thought it was very lazily done, quite rushed, and in many aspects fell very short. It is just like most Goosebumps novels, not an entirely original story. I mean, we've already had The Thing, The Blob, and we'll soon have The Mummy, with this one drawing on the Twilight Zone, or more specifically, the Twilight Zone episode A Most Unusual Camera. Unfortunately, this novel, more so than any of the other ones I've looked at this month, really just felt like an utter rush job that didn't have much time put into it. The story is just all over the shop, and the rules of how the magical item functions is just entirely inconsistent. If you want to create any kind of interesting and compelling story, the things in that story have to actually have a kind of consistency to it. Well, that's one of my main gripes with this novel. The camera, which they discover in the novel, which has the ability to tell the future, or perhaps change the future, works differently depending on how the plot demands it. You see, for the most part, if you take a picture with a camera, it will give you a photo of the future in which something terrible has happened to whatever you've taken a picture of. So, for instance, he took a photo of his father's car, which was in good condition and brand new. The photo of the car showed it destroyed, and then later on, his father got into a car crash. He took a photo of his friend, the photo of his friend showed his friend injured, and then later on his friend got injured. And this went on relatively consistently for the entire novel until he took a picture of his friend Shari, who, for some reason, instead of having something terrible happen to her, just randomly disappeared. The picture showed her not being there, and then she just wasn't. Everyone looked away for a moment, and then they looked back, and she was no longer there. This made absolutely no sense in the established rules of the novel, and so therefore it really annoyed me. It would be like if you were reading Harry Potter, and then halfway through the novel suddenly magic worked in an entirely different way. It wouldn't be okay, because it trains you to understand that it works in this way, and you can't have it just suddenly flip over and work in a different way. And then later on, the kid discovered that if he ripped up the picture of Shari, or more accurately the picture of not Shari, then Shari would be returned from whatever void she was in, which worked, and she had no recollection of she was, hammering in the point that she had just magically disappeared, rather than something bad happening to her, as the story had established. Also, it should be noted that despite the kid discovering that ripping up the picture of his friend not being there returned her to him, he then didn't go on to rip up every single other picture of horrible things happening. I mean, come on. His dad is in the hospital having suffered a horrible car crash, which destroyed his car. He has the picture that supposedly did it. He's just found out that tearing up the picture returned his friend, and he doesn't even try tearing up the picture of his dad in the car crash to see if it returns his dad to good health or returns the car into a working condition. Why didn't he try it? We don't know, it's never explained or even addressed. Aside from that, the story is mostly cookie cutter, but it does stand out from the other ones. The kids are still 1 year apart, although there is more of them as minor characters, and also standing out from the usual theme is that they've not recently moved to a new place, and further, their parents are not emotionally and physically distant, aside from when his dad actually has to go to hospital. These are all good things. I'm glad that he changed some things up, it's just that unfortunately, he didn't seem to put much effort into the rest of the novel. It does have its occasional spooky moment, but for the most part, it can definitely be given the miss. I suggest you don't bother having a look at this one, but instead just watch the original Twilight Zone episode that it was inspired by, because it is far superior. And so, with all of that said and done, as always, thanks for watching, and until next time, I have been and still am Grin Grindle.